Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Jackie Woodside here again for another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast, where we are here to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. I'm just so grateful that you're here with us. Gosh, we've got to be upwards of around 150 episodes at this point. And I hope that you're one of my regular listeners who gets inspired and excited about this topic of, gosh, how do I live life more consciously? How do I slow down, take a breath? Am I living in alignment with my higher truth? Am I living in alignment with my values? There's so much coming at us each and every day that it's really nice to take a moment to pause and to ask some of these deeper questions. And today's topic, I personally love, given my work around money vibe. Today's topic is around money and wealth and abundance. I'm excited to bring to the show today Elizabeth Ralph, who is a former financial trader turned spiritual teacher and investor. This is a really cool fun fact about what Elizabeth accomplished. She was able to financially to retire by the age of 39. Now she hosts a really wonderful podcast called the Spiritual Investor Podcast, where she talks about and has created a method called the SI method, a nonlinear, frequency-based approach that blends financial strategy with energetic alignment. Girl, we speak the same language.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to welcome you to the Conscious Living Podcast, Elizabeth Ralph. Why don't you say a little bit more about yourself so our listeners can get to know you?
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I, I feel like I naturally sort of aligned into this. So I'll say that because I think sometimes people wonder, like, how do you end up, creating something that you end up being your business and your life and the whole deal. I feel like I've kind of been oriented to this. So I'll say that. I ride horses, so, I competed in show jumping for a long time, and I still have my horses, and so, I live out on land, and I travel quite a bit, as we talked about before we started, travel a lot for, interviews and things like that, and writing a book, and it's just things are expanding. I would say that we're all kind of in that though. I say we're all together in this co-creation process, especially now we've entered like this year, which everyone feels is like, oh my gosh, this year with all the forward momentum and everything. And I just, living in a state of greater allowing, how can I allow more in? That's constantly what I'm asking. So if I had to kind of describe myself, I'd say that's a little bit about the back history, the way of being, and kind of what more of my present moment being as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. How can I allow more in?
Mm.
What a great question to bring to life and bring to our relationship with money.
Mhm.
So you have an extraordinarily unique approach to building wealth. I guess I could start there. You have a different approach. It's about energy and alignment. Can you talk about what your paradigm is? You have or you talk about money neutrality as a new wealth paradigm. So we
Mhm.
can begin there, but even more general than that, I'd love to just hear about your philosophy and how you created this spiritual investor platform and paradigm.
Mm. Well, I was living this way, not knowing it, when I was a financial trader, even because I started out, once I decided that I was going to sort of buy my way out of it. I mean, I loved the job, I loved the people, but I knew that I didn't want to be on a trading floor for the rest of my life. You know, the, it's a long day, it's quite stressful, it's just that environment, right?
Yeah.
So once I figured that out, I was very in the spreadsheet. I was building investments. I was buying a lot of real estate in San Diego, and I was also investing, heavily in the stock market. All that was going great, but then I wasn't happy, so it's like I was watching money pile up and not happy, and I'm like, "What's wrong here?" Right? I'm on track. I'm supposed to be happy. Then I went into this, "Oh, well, I'm just ungrateful. I have this dream job which I worked my way into." I was married at the time. I'd happily married, and I'm like, I had a dog, and I had my horses, and it's like, Elizabeth, what's wrong with you? And then I realized it wasn't about that at all. It wasn't that I was ungrateful. It was that I was expanding in such a way that the beautiful life I had built was out of alignment, no fault to myself or anyone else, or nothing wrong with it. So
Yeah.
once I realized that, I started bringing in different aspects that were more in alignment, not having to do with money, actually, because that's one of the things that I teach is like, your whole life is about money, even when you're not thinking about money. It is that way from a 3D perspective because there's so much inundated feelings about money that there's a normalization that goes on that we kind of there's a psyche that we carry about money all the time. But even in the universal world, everything is about money because money is just energy. And so the energy you take in one area, like example, you're being controlling in a relationship, you're definitely being controlling with your money, and there's some resistance there. So what I did was I just incorporated everything. I let the walls down between different areas of my life. What happened was a spiritual guru, if you will, came into my life. Just a guy that joined the trading floor. He and I ended up being fast friends, and he was raised in India, and
Oh,
he daily was bringing me the old, the texts from, that he grew up in an ashram. And he basically, I went into about 5 years of just really deep spiritual training. And then I was still, working in the job. And suddenly those two worlds coincided, not even of my design. And then when I did end up finally retiring, I started writing because I love to write. And then I was at a party and someone said, "Will you help me with my money?" I was at a kid's birthday party and I said, "I don't do that." And they're like, "Please," by the end of the party, talked into it. Best thing that happened because I ended up meeting this woman in person and helping her. 6 months later, I get an envelope in the mail. It's very thick and it has photographs in it. And she said, I just bought a second home. I bought a cabin in Big Bear, and my children are gonna now grow up with photographs of running around in snow, and you've changed my entire life. And I was like,
wow.
in that moment, I'm like, okay, universe, you've chosen what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that really was the moment the spiritual investor was born, and that was eight
Oh,
years ago.
that is fantastic, Elizabeth. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that with us. So,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a spiritual investor?
I think it means actually bringing creativity to money is really effectively what it means. It also means not doing things the old way. Um, we are choosing, do we want to live as the new version of us or do we want to just repeat the old patterns? And we're constantly choosing that. And I think that that's very clear when it comes to people's wellness and health. And, it's very clear that when people go and they sit in a yoga class and they feel that flow and they're like, okay, this is it, right? But I think it becomes very unclear how that feeling actually can also be present within your money. And I think that that's definitely the essence and the teachings there.
Hmm. When you say that feeling can be present within the money, do you mean that feeling of like flow and like what do you mean? What feeling are you talking about?
That feeling of needing nothing.
Needing nothing.
Yeah,
Nice. So the spiritual investor has an experience of money that they don't need anything.
right. Because when you believe something is unlimited, you don't need it anymore.
Beautiful. Can you say more? I mean, this is an intriguing paradigm. How do you get, obviously your average listener is not in that place of feeling like I don't need anything. We're in I think a fairly challenging economic time where top 1% is getting incredibly wealthier. And, wealth has been concentrated at the top. Middle class has been hollowed out. A lot of people who used to be middle class are now lower middle class and really struggling. So, that's kind of the context that we're in culturally right now. So, flush out that thought so I can grapple with it better.
Yeah. So it's like you say, a lot of people aren't really in that state of being right now, understandably, right? With all that you just mentioned we have going on. So it's for that, it's important for I think people to realize that it's not about not needing money in the 3D world. It's about, are you craving that you could be here and have an ongoing feeling all the time of not needing money and have everything in your life work like you want it? Like, is that what you want? Because that's first and foremost what you have to want. Way above an amount or something like that. Because really, an amount of money is still very 3D. People talk about
Yeah.
financial freedom. How do you
Yeah.
know how much money you're going to need?
Right. Right. It changes all the time. My definition of financial freedom is never having to worry about money, whether you have any or not.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Knowing that it's an inside energetic. So you talk about money neutrality as a new wealth paradigm. So can you talk about what that is and how to get there?
So, money neutrality is the greatest opening to money, and that is the point of intersection where money actually isn't, it comes to you as an invite. And so that's really the difference in the old world paradigm and the new world paradigm is the old world paradigm is all about getting money. And so, what do you need to do? Who do you need to be in order to get money? And that's why people are exhausted.
Yeah.
The new world paradigm is how do I create my world independently or dependently related to money uh, so that the self expression of who I am is an invite. Now, I think to a certain degree, people understand that the 3D world around us is created. It's a result of the self expression of who we're being. But what happens is there's a disconnect between, okay, in my mind, this is what I want versus when I walk in a room, this is who I am. And as we are all expanding into greater consciousness, we're becoming more attuned to that beingness that's walking in the room. We can feel the energy of people when they walk in the room. You feel someone's angry or even kind of what their intention is. They're sitting across the dinner table, right? We feel people. Well, there's a normalization within people, within their self-expression with regards to money that we can also feel. We can feel if people are in resistance and locked up and everything about money. They don't know it though because they're so normalized within their frequency. So part of the work is not just moving to a new frequency because we're always bouncing around different frequencies. It's the stabilization of you within that frequency because that's when you really start to see your life change and it becomes effortless because when you stabilize on a frequency, you're not actually doing anything. You're being something, but you're being something different than you are now.
So when you say stabilize on a frequency, you mean stay at one level of consciousness without the constant daily, hourly fluctuations in consciousness.
No, you can't stay on one level of consciousness. We're supposed to move around. Contrast is what teaches us. So, what it is you have access on that frequency. So, opportunities exist. If you think of it as a bandwidth, opportunities exist on that frequency, and you have access to those. And when the stabilization occurs, then it's like the example would be someone calls you on the phone and says, "Hey, I'd like to hire you and I'd like to pay you $100,000." Well, what happens to you energetically? Can you step into it?
Mm-hmm.
Can you step into it? A lot of people are like, sure, I can. But when it happens, can you? Are you the true self-expression of that? Or are you the self-expression of the person who believes that you can step into it? Because they're very different.
Say more.
Well, if I'm the person who believes that when Oprah knocks on my door, that I'm ready and I'm just everything, I'm just like, here I am, then I believe that. But in that moment when she knocks on the door and I'm standing there looking at her, what matters is the self-expression of who I am in that moment. Because I am going to cause that resistance. I'm going to cause that step back. I'm going to cause that. Am I trying to? I'll give you an example. Like what I see a lot is I see, when people are in fear and scarcity about money, it's like, great. We talk about that as a concept, but like there's all these spiritual concepts about money that are just concepts. It's just like they're not, are they doing us any good to a certain degree? What I really see, the self-expression of that really comes out when you go really deep and you go really vertical on the money, and then you're feeling that yoga class not needing anything, and then what happens is an opportunity steps in, and then you go right back into planning, needing to understand the time, needing to understand how the money is going to come to you. Oh my God, I can't take my kids to school, blah, blah, blah. All of this comes in. as the presentation of circumstances that you need to deal with, having nothing to do with the opportunity that's presented to you, except for you've then related the two.
Okay, but those circumstances are real. So walk me across that bridge. I mean, you still got to get the kids to school or whatever. So are you saying where people lead, like where their energy, if their energy goes toward the opportunity versus the barriers, is that what you mean?
There are powerful people all day long who run 15 different companies who get their kids to school.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
I'm saying is that it should never be an or.
Okay, so it's a both. You're talking about a both and.
People live from or. People hear their listening is from or. And so what happens is they go into all the reasons that they can't do it in the way that is being presented to them. And so they drop down to a different frequency. They're out of the portal, if you will. They're not bringing their full power to that portal in that moment because they're
Because
not stabilized on that
they're
frequency.
living in either or. Well, if I take this job, then I can't get the kids to school, so to speak. I'm just trying to make this concrete. Like I want it to be really useful for our listeners, and I want to move it from concept to practice. So I hear
It
what
could
you're
be that.
saying. Yeah.
It could be an or world. It could be I need to wait because I'm not good enough yet. I need to learn more. There's a lot of different reasons where it comes in and takes them out of the full power of
Yeah.
where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you say stabilize their frequency, you mean they don't get taken out of that full power of who they are.
Or they don't recognize the opportunity.
Say
Could be
more.
they get taken out of it. Could be they get taken out of it. Could be that they don't recognize the opportunity. Have you ever had someone where you look at their life and you're like, oh my God, this person has every opportunity in the world, but they can't see it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it can happen in multiple ways. And so it's yes, so pulling this down into circumstance is exactly what we wanna do, but the moment that you do start to get specific on circumstances, then what happens, it's kind of like when a bullet shoots out of a gun and there's a smattering effect. It can show up in all the circumstances. The reason it could show up in all circumstances is because circumstances are created by our own justification. So I can justify till the cows come home anything that I want or that I'm afraid of and I need to get away from. So circumstances are limited, but there's so many of them. Can people see themselves falling out of the frequency and moving away from the opportunity is the useful point. How am I? And this comes from a series of pausing, and this comes from a level of awareness, pausing and saying, wow, okay, Oprah's standing here, and I'm not even really in this right now with her. I'm not in a co-creation with her right now. I am feeling the emotion in my body and I'm needing something right now. Stop. Because you're about to create a plethora of circumstances in that moment.
Say more. Like
In
what?
some cases, you're supposed to. In some cases, you're supposed to.
Supposed to what?
Create those circumstances and live through them and be the self-expression through them.
Okay, so you're saying the alternative is to pause and get present to what your energy is, get present to what frequency you're in.
If you want, so it goes back to what we started with. What are you going for? Are you going for the understanding and the how to? Are you going for the expansion and the curiosity and creating new?
Hmm, okay. All right. So when you work with clients, right? That's you help
Not
people.
one-on-one. I saw
Not one-on-one. Okay, so you
years
teach
ago.
you teach programs. Is that more
I
your
run high-level masterminds, and then we have also a couple of other membership groups that you can come into and just get started on investing. You can get started, kind of get in the energy of this work, and start applying this in a way that is specific to you. So through the work, you are creating your circumstances. So the through the work becomes more understandable because you're pulling it down, you're taking the energy of it. And because this work is actually both worlds, this work is universal and the 3D with the money,
Mhm.
because you're actually doing that, then you're getting an opportunity to the work as a support system for you to be supported as new. It's kind of like it creates a very safe, uh, easeful structure around you in order for you to go out and play in the world again, in order for you to go out and create your circumstances instead of the other way around, which a lot of people are just like, give me the top 5 steps. Tell me tell me what should I do first? Oh, what should I do second? What should I do third? Well, especially if you're talking about the market or money, that is useless information about 1.5 seconds later after I've told you that. So I want to teach you how to access that. I want to teach you how to stabilize yourself on the frequency so that you are a wealth creator and you don't need me or you don't need anyone else. Then my job is done.
So you're really teaching and training people around managing their energy and frequency more than managing their investments and their money. Is that accurate?
No, it's not an or world. It's all of it.
It's all of it. So you do deal with investment
All one
decisions,
system. Yes, it's
all
all
one
one
system.
system because we came here to live in the 3D world. A lot of people think that I just they're in the energy of it and they're like, you hear this a lot where people are like, I feel the money coming. Well, if you feel the money coming and the dollars aren't in your bank account, you are in a state of waiting, and waiting is lack energy.
Mhm.
So that's the difference in this work is that we don't stop with, I just feel money. And nothing wrong with that. But I think that the people who come to work with me or in this energy of this or listening to the Spiritual Investor podcast are beyond the money mindset work. They're beyond the let me just feel money and I know it's coming to me because of some, nothing wrong with it, but the astrology is going to support it or whatever. People are ready to actually see the wealth in their lives. And when I say ready, I'm not just saying that it's the information
Mhm.
because lots of people have information that can be helpful. I'm not the only one out there that can help people build wealth, right? By far. If they resonate with me and they meet me on this frequency, they know it. And then what will happen is when they come in, they go so vertical. I mean, the life shifting changes that go on, especially in the mastermind, it's 12 weeks. By week 3, people are looking around blinking because not because of me. And I want to emphasize that. Yes, it is me as a guide. It's their level of commitment, which is a state of allowing.
Their commitment to change, growth, transformation. Is that
To let go of needing to do all of that.
Mhm.
Because the moment that you're like, I'm going to grow, I'm going to transform, I'm going to do all this, then you're doing something again. The first 3 weeks of the mastermind is it's really just becoming nothingness. Because when I can start with you from a new starting place, then we're not trying to fix all the shit that's broken in your life with me.
Right.
We're actually new.
Nice. That is a very radical and different paradigm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going through a time that, a lot is happening, a lot is changing in the economy. Are there any financial, truths, if you will, that are still applicable to building wealth today, as like back in, our parents' age? What has changed? Are there any truths that are still applicable?
I think a truth that is still applicable is that financial freedom is diversification.
Mm.
I think financial freedom is being independent from the economy so that anything that happens, you're always fine. So I think that is a tried and true principle.
Yeah.
Um, the market is still the same market as it was before. It just continues to shift and change because the market is just a conglomerate of billions of emotional decisions that people are making. And so you can actually feel the market. I grew up, my mother was a financial advisor. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. I grew up with this as my language too. Like, so
Yeah.
I didn't really know the difference of anything, which is one of the things that positioned me to to share this information with people. And have been able, and being the financial trader as well. So I've also been able to see generations of what's going on, and I can see the common thread and the similarity. And when you can see the common thread and the similarity, you're not as likely to be that person that's like, oh, I should have done this yesterday. Because what's happening is you are already reorienting the ship within the design of your investment portfolio 6 to 8 months ahead of time, and that's one of the things that I teach people is how to be at the
Oh,
top of the ship and how to look out, how to read between the lines and not get caught up in the news, see it, but don't make it part of the essence of your decisions, because a lot of that you see going on in the news is just it's what you're gonna click on. And, and then it goes away, and then suddenly you've designed your investment portfolio on it, and so is everyone else, and
right.
it just doesn't work for you.
Wow. And what's the alternative?
Reading between the lines,
Yeah.
using your intuition,
Okay.
understanding how like, what are the big things to be looking at, and that is not going to actually come to you until you quiet your mind and stop looking for the steps. It's just like when someone is trying to have, let's say that someone's like, "I need to talk to you about something serious," right? Let's say someone comes to you and says that. Well, if you are cooking dinner for the kids and you are checking your text messages and you are worried about that you need to get ready to get in the car and go somewhere and meet someone in an hour, your level of allowing is very low.
Yeah.
And most people who are looking for the steps, that's where they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is get that out of the way because I want you to hear the greater conversation, because what's good for you isn't good for me. I am already at a certain place in my wealth journey that many people aren't. And so I'm not going to say that what I do with my portfolio is going to be the same thing as you, but
Right.
if I teach you how did I get where I am from where you are, then I've actually given you value.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love bringing both worlds together. And I love what you're saying about, not needing the steps and to use your intuition. What about values, value alignment with how I'm very conscious, particularly in today's world, of where I invest my money and where I spend my money, where I shop. Certain places that I don't, services and places I don't use any longer. So I want to be awake and aligned with my values and how I spend my money. What are your thoughts about that, Elizabeth?
I think it's great. I think if you are energetically aligned to that and it feels really good to you, I think that's actually a greater opening to money. I think that everyone, my whole thing is let the money be close to you. Bring money in energetically to you, which is one of the big things about teaching people how to manage their money. It's not to say that you shouldn't go out there and hire someone to help you with some of your money or whatever. But if your money is at the arm's length distance of a 1-800 number, you're not going to feel energetically connected to it, right? So it's like bring that in. So if that's where that lands for you and you're like, I feel so good about shopping at this store, then that's what you should be doing. Where it gets a little iffy is when you feel like I should be doing that.
Huh.
That's where you go out of neutrality because we are singular beings. Everything around us is a movie. It's just us. And we only stay in our power when the energy stays here. And the moment that you put your power out here and you're all worried about what I'm doing, it's the moment you've given me your power, which is the whole irony of it.
Hmm. That's fascinating. There's a lot of people who are being vocal about. Uh,
Being vocal is fine.
okay.
Being in judgment is different.
I I I agree with you. I am not morally neutral about some of the ways that money is being used in our culture
And you
today.
shouldn't be because you're probably one of these people out here that's doing a lot of good by being more involved in it.
Yeah.
And we need that. We
Yeah.
don't need a bunch of people sitting on the sidelines saying nothing. So I'm
Right.
not saying that. We need everyone to be the full expression of who they are, but without diminishing their power by caring about who I am.
Yeah. I
right?
love that. Yeah.
Because you're doing more for those wonderful companies that you're behind when you're fully, fully you. And that is also what financial freedom gives people too. We live in a 3D world where if someone came up to you and said, "Here's $1 billion, go out and give your light in the world and just be who you are," our world would change, right? Because people
Mm.
would then be their authentic selves and they wouldn't be so in everybody else's stuff. So once we remove the entanglements, then we become a whole bunch of beings who are so powerful that we can't be altered.
Mm. Oh, I love that. That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
A bunch of beings who are so powerful that we can't be altered. Yeah. I get that vibe from you, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah.
super clear on who you are, where your energy is, where your energy's going, what you're doing next, what your intentions are.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very.
Beautiful alignment in that. I teach that in one of my programs, called Living in the Domain of Miracles. But
Oh, wow. God, I bet that's fantastic.
really powerful. Like
Yes.
when you know who you are, you know your purpose, you know your mission, you know what you're up to in life. I say you become unfuckwithable.
Yes. You're right. You're
You know,
right.
you just have and not like needing to prove something or needing to dominate, because sometimes people use that word in a more dominant way. But I mean, just like in a steady, I'm just here and I know who I am.
Yes, because that's when magnetism replaces
Right. That's
dominance.
the domain of miracles.
Yeah.
When you're able to be in that place like that, that's yeah, that's how I
Mhm.
talk about living in the domain of miracles starts there. And it's not the only element of it, but it certainly starts there.
Thank you for teaching that.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you.
for sharing that
Yeah.
and being that person who teaches that because it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed, this time with you. I know people are gonna be interested in you. You have the podcast, the Spiritual Investor Podcast, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
And so that's one place people can spend time with you. How else can people find you, talk with you about getting in your mastermind or taking some of your programs?
Thisvirtualinvestor.com is probably the best place. So you see all the programs there. And then Instagram would just be Elizabeth Ralph.
Oh,
Just
okay, cool.
one word on Instagram. So, whether you're catching videos there or you could send me a DM even. I mean, I love talking to people. That's part of this. My team has been expanding and growing and the company's been growing and they're like, you spend so much time like just talking to people. And I'm like, I know, but it feeds me, it fuels me. I really, really love the connection point. I love the messages that I get. And that's the abundance, really. That's the true abundance.
Yeah.
It's
It's how you know that you're living true, that that,
think
you know,
so.
your work is resonating and making a difference. So, so
Yeah,
great. I love what you're doing in the world, Elizabeth. I'll have to have you back on. I know you're off
thank
to
you.
New York to do a live podcast. That sounds really exciting. You're going to the city, to New York City?
Yes, I was just there a couple of weeks ago for an interview, and I'm going back, and then I have Nashville after that, and then I have Austin after that, and San Francisco. So it's really become a big part of my world. I've oriented, the company and everything around travel because, sometimes, you have a couple of podcasts or 2 or 3 scheduled, and then you get some dinners together with people that you maybe went the last trip and the trip before that, and blah, 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 and sometimes I just sit there and just, like, feel the magic of it all, feel the magic of the life and of
Yeah.
just the buzziness of the connection of all these people who you can feel the expanded consciousness out there, that's going on, and, it's just I can't think of a better time to be here alive and doing this.
Doing this work. Exactly right. We are at the forefront of a new evolution of consciousness.
You're right, thank you for saying that and bringing
Yeah.
that we are.
Well, thank you for spending time with me and with our listeners, Elizabeth. I really have enjoyed it, and I hope that we'll be able to connect again. Thank you for being on the Conscious Living Podcast.
Thank you.